All right, we are on the Reese Moby podcast with Tommy Christie today. Tommy's somebody that I've listened to his podcast for quite a while, probably more than half the episodes. I've always thought it was super awesome. You have
Nice.
actually kind of inspired me to keep mine going and to have some
Wow.
podcasts because I've just found like it's so fun. And
Mm,
I always felt like we were kind of similar in the way that we hosted our podcasts a little bit.
mm,
I don't know, just like really chill, getting on like who do
mm,
we want to talk to? Who sounds
mm,
interesting? Let's get them on a
mm,
podcast. And
mm,
yeah, so I've really looked up to that. So if you
mm.
want to introduce yourself a little bit more than that, you can, Tommy. But thank you for
Yeah.
coming on here.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for doing this, Reese. You're a really nice dude, and I really like what you're doing. You're just putting out content relentlessly, and that's the way
Yeah.
to do this game. I mean, I'm a salesperson, a writer, human being. I don't know how else to introduce myself. That's my whole energy. I love to write. I love to connect with people. I love to sell. Um, Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm a bit of a digital nomad as well. So I don't really have a physical location that I'm tied to at the moment, which has been pretty interesting.
Yeah. I've
Hmm
always seen that. Like I've
Mm,
like I've seen your posts and I've thought like, oh, I wonder where he's at right now. Like because it
yeah.
seems like I have no idea. Where have you
hmm
been? Or
Uh,
anything stand out recently?
yeah. Well, last year I was in Argentina for 7 months, which is just a country for me that I'm fascinated by in a lot of different respects, like culturally, geographically. So I spent about 7 months there, primarily in Buenos Aires. I also went around to other regions of the country, and I went to Uruguay as well, which is a bordering country, which is more or less like Argentina. Uruguay is culturally essentially the same. I really liked Mendoza. They have some of the best wine there in the entire world. I went to a place called Bariloche, which is, fun fact, a lot of Nazis, when after World War II, they went to this place. There's a large German footprint there.
Wow.
Um, that was really cool. It's technically in Patagonia. And yeah, I'm planning on going to the Dominican Republic next month for a whole month and then going back to Argentina. And yeah, here I'm in the United States right now. I missed it to some degree. I miss the convenience and the efficiency of
Hmm.
everything in the US. It's really easy to take it for granted when you live here. So yeah, it's great to be back, but that's my journey so
That's
far.
really cool. Yeah.
Hmm
My girlfriend and I just got done with 2 months of van life
Oh
over
yeah,
like
let's go.
November and December.
Let's go.
And
What
we
did
came back like a month ago for the holidays and we're still here. But like I have also
mm,
noticed that convenience of like being in one spot, especially like
mm,
my hometown where I grew up. And I'm like, yeah, I know things here. I'm
mm,
chill. Like it
mm-hmm.
felt so structured and so stable. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like once I got home, I was like, oh wow, focusing on the writing and building these projects and doing all this business stuff like came with ease. But yeah, being
Mm,
out on the road was a lot different. But we were just talking about it today of like, okay,
mm-hmm.
when are we going back in the van? Where are we going to go
Mm,
next? How's that going to look? But yeah, we
mm,
went through we left literally on Halloween on October 31st. And so it was
mm,
pretty cold. We were like, okay, we got to get south pretty quick. So we got down
mm-hmm.
to Utah, spent a lot of time in Utah. It was
I love
beautiful
Utah.
there. Yeah.
Hmm
I never knew anything about it. I was like, yeah, whatever. It's
Mm.
just Utah. I don't know. I don't know nothing about
Well,
it.
well,
But
there's this geographic, like I'm really into geography. One of the things I studied in school, actually, I have an undergraduate degree in like geographic information systems. I just nerd out on it.
yeah.
There's something called the Colorado Plateau, which is essentially this plateau, which is most of Utah, part of Colorado, part of New Mexico, part of Arizona. The Grand Canyon's part of it, Arches National Park. So it's just
Mhm.
this alien-like landscape for thousands of square miles.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
and
that's
from
like right what we were in. And I was like,
Mhm.
I had no idea that there was anything like this. And I
Mm,
think we were in Arches, like the museum there,
mhm.
and there was a quote. I don't remember who said it, but he was like, when God made the world, he was making Arches National Park, like this
Interesting.
region,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I was there's like a very famous environmentalist. What is his name? Environmentalist, Utah. One sec. I forgot his name, but he's a writer and he's written a ton about like the West, just in a poetic perspective. But yeah, the American West is just an absolute gem. There's like nobody there. It's pure. The landscapes just go on for miles and miles. Yeah, I'm a huge, huge fan of Utah.
Yeah, and I had
Hmm
no idea that any of this existed.
Mm,
And last week, I believe it was Friday, I was on a call with Jack Moses and he
Hmm.
introduced me. He was like, dude, you have to check out astrocartography. Like your
Mm.
astrology and where your astrological lines like line up across the entire world. And
Mm.
I had some in um Eastern Europe, some in like the Middle East, and then the
Mm.
Western US was another like one of my big zones. And I felt so
Interesting.
called to being there while I
Mm.
was there in the van. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, maybe this is an idea of where I have to go back to or where I want to end up. Or like the big
Mm.
vision with my girlfriend and I is like, okay, let's buy land, get the chickens, get the garden, just have
Mm.
space, things like that. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, wow. I could see that like Western US and that
Mm.
Southwest region could be
Mm-hmm.
that.
100%. Like you can actually get some affordable real estate out in the boonies, out in those towns. You just, everything's a give and take. Like obviously
Yeah.
the take there is not being in a city, not being around like other business people and writers and maybe people with ambition, but I think it's all about like an inhale exhale. Like you inhale the cold I want the way I'm trying to structure my life is like 6 months in the US and then 6 months outside of the US. So kind of
Mm,
like expansion and contraction more or less.
yes. Why?
Hmm. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. It's just that's my natural intuition. That's the best I could put it. I just find that my life works best when I'm expanding and traveling a lot, but also kind of pairing that with rooting down at the same exact time. For me, it's the best of both worlds because I'm here in my hometown. Like you were saying, it's very predictable. It's very easy to lock in and do work, but I don't feel like I'm growing that much
Hmm.
from a spiritual perspective. I mean, I am and I'm not. Um, I'm just very, very into geography and going to other places and experiencing other cultures, learning new languages. Language learning has been a huge focus for me this past year. Like I've really dialed in my Spanish, and it's wild what happens when you learn another language. It
Yeah.
really enhances your entire life in so many ways that are hard to articulate.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's wonderful. I don't know anything about another language. Yeah, when you said Buenos
Hmm.
Aires, I was like, oh, I bet he probably learned Spanish because I've heard
Yeah.
like it's probably not great for digital nomads there if you don't know much Spanish because
Mm.
you'll feel pretty isolated or something. Because yeah, that's something I've looked into
Hmm.
because I feel very similar. Well, first I wanted to say that I think that like that's what your
Mm.
intuition is telling you was the best possible answer to that question. That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's
but
just the
yeah, I feel
vibe.
super similar. I'm like, okay, let me get out, let me go meet people, let me be in
Mm.
environments that I've not been in before. Because when I feel in the when I'm in those environments, I'm like, okay, I can be whoever I want. I can kind of morph into this
Mm.
environment, and then I come back to my hometown, and I feel like I kind of come back into like my hometown self kind of
Yeah.
version just by being in these environments. But then yeah, I
Mm.
also do love like the groundedness and like having my space and the
Mm.
stability and things like that. So yeah, I do also have a very interesting balance like that, similar to you.
Mm.
So I wonder if like maybe that's one of my callings or what I'm supposed to do as well is like, okay, maybe I'm in the van for half the year, or maybe I'm traveling abroad for half the year or something, or even a few
Hmm.
months at a time. And then it's like, okay, summertime, or maybe around the holidays, it's like, okay, back in my hometown, let's regroup, let's get some structure before I go out and expand and grow again.
Exactly,
Is
man.
is
Well, I
that what
mean,
it feels like for you?
yeah, it's exactly what it's like. Yeah, I just my whole entire life, like I'm 35 now, but most of my 20s I was just living in fear. I always wanted to do what I'm doing right now. And I told myself all these stories why I couldn't do it. Um, and it was really difficult. Like I was living in Denver, Colorado, and I ultimately ended up selling essentially all of my things and getting rid of everything. And I just have a laptop and a backpack and suitcase and some clothes and some books, and I just kind of travel around with that. And it's very empowering and it's very freeing. It's very liberating. But there are times where I really miss the regularity of like having an apartment, having a place, having my space, having a routine, because I think that's one of the big things you lose when you travel. I'm a fan of something called slow matting. I don't know if that's like like I've heard people call it that before, but I don't like particularly staying in one place for like a couple weeks, then moving to another place for a couple of weeks. My brain and my internal state get very chaotic when I do that. So I like to root down. When I go to Buenos Aires, I like to get a place for like a couple of months so I can get a grocery store, I can find a market, I can find people and communities to tap into. Um, yeah, so I like I like that term slow matting.
Yes, I've never
Hmm.
heard that before. I think that's where I would fall into as well. Because
Hmm.
toward the end of our van life
Hmm.
adventure, like early late November, early December, we stayed in Austin, Texas for
Mm.
2 or 3 weeks, I think, at the same campsite. And it felt good. I was like, okay, I'm familiar. I know where I'm going to the grocery store. I know a
Hmm.
couple coffee shops that I can go to. I'm kind of like in this place and I feel just more immersed, like
Mm.
in the city or in the environment rather
Hmm.
than, yeah, if I'm just there for a couple days at a time. Cause that's what it was in our van life journey up until Austin was like, we're going to wake up, we're going to make breakfast, we're going to hike, explore, do our thing, then we're driving to the next place to do it again. So there was about like 3 to 4 hours of driving every single day. Go to the next place, go to the next place, do the thing,
Mm.
go to the next place. And yeah, that didn't sit right with me. People,
Hmm.
my family, when I came home, they're like, how was van life for you? Like really excited. And I'm like, eh, it was
Mm.
okay. Like it wasn't
Mm.
quite what I expected. And
Mm.
once I got to come home and sit with it and reflect on that journey, I'm like,
Mm.
okay, I think van life may be for me, and I just didn't execute on it right. Maybe I didn't do it quite the
Mm.
right way. And yeah,
Hmm.
slow matting sounds like that could be an opportunity is like, okay, I found a spot that I like. Let's stay
Mm.
here for a month or two. Let's know it. Let's be going to the, maybe we're going to the same national park every couple
Mm.
days. Maybe we're getting to know the person who works at the front desk or something like that little community. I saw a
Hmm.
tweet, like it went viral a week or two ago of
Mm.
like I've moved to a new city like 2 or 3 different times. Every time I go to the same coffee shop every day at the same time, sit in the same spot. And now I'm friends with the baristas. They give me free drinks. I have my free paid parking spot that they give me for free now just for being a regular. And the point of it was like everybody wants like the novel experience or the next thing, but there's a lot of gifts in becoming a regular and in your environment a little bit. And I think a lot of people, especially people who travel, lose sight of that a little bit. And that really
Hmm.
resonated with me.
Yeah, no, I was the same way when I was in Buenos Aires. I would go to the same coffee shop every single day, and I was friends with all the people that worked there. And it felt like I was, I was able to establish like a routine. And that's what I like. And I don't really know what the future holds for me. I just know that I'm going to have one foot in the United States, one foot outside. Because something that I learned as well is you can't really understand your environment if you're in it all the time. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but it's like a fish
Yes.
trying to understand what his fishbowl is like if they've never left that fishbowl. They
Yeah.
just think that that is it. And it's given me an enhanced respect for the United States. Um, and it's just given me so much perspective on what it means to be an American, what it means to live in this country that we live in as well.
Yeah. I think that's
Hmm.
exactly what happened for me being in the van. It's like when I
Hmm.
was in it, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And I got to take a step back once I was home and look at that from the outside perspective and was
Hmm.
then like, okay, yeah, I could do this a different way and it might work.
Hmm.
So I like that. And I definitely see that if and when I'm traveling abroad and stuff, I
Hmm.
will see that coming into play. It's like, okay, let me be there and then let me come back and let me review. Let me see how that was. How was I working? How was my mood? And what
Hmm.
was I exploring? Different things like that. Yeah, getting that time to reflect feels super powerful. What
Hmm.
unlocks kind of have you had from
Hmm.
that reflection and like you've said a couple times now like the like
Hmm.
proud to be an American and that it's different here and it's convenient. What have you
Hmm.
reflected that people like me maybe who've not traveled abroad a lot
Hmm.
may be taking for granted or overlooking?
I think for me, those are the best parts of the United States is how convenient everything is, how efficient everything is. Generally speaking, flights are always on time. Everything's kind of like mechanized. All of the
Mm.
systems are so efficient. Um, on the like, there was actually something too that like a negative end of America that I kind of learned from being in Argentina. I lived in Denver, Colorado for 10 years, and it was difficult to find community there. It was difficult for me to like really connect with people. And when I was in Argentina, I developed a social circle there that I felt like was just as strong, if not stronger, than the one I had in Colorado in the span of a couple of months. I think something that the US doesn't do a great job at is facilitating community. I think a lot of us, we have jobs that we go to. We get in the car, we drive to work, we interact with the people at work a little bit, and we come back. We don't have the third space. We don't have things aren't walkable. in the US, generally speaking. And everything in Buenos Aires is totally walkable. And I would just run into people everywhere. And it was so easy to connect with people. I think it's part of the culture. People were really open and friendly. Like when you go to Argentina, people will just invite you to do things. You don't have to plan things. People will just invite you to go, like in the moment. So I
Yeah.
think that is like a negative side of the US that I don't know, I noticed. And
Yeah.
I think there's a huge area of opportunity for anybody in the US that creates communities and creates things that are going to get people together.
hmm Because yeah, it is like
Mm-hmm.
because everything is so mechanized. Yeah, they're efficient. Yeah, it's convenient, but you're losing
Mm-hmm.
out on those like spur of the moment or the more like kind of just magical moments that can pop up when you don't
Mm,
have something to do in an hour and things like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. In Argentina, it's much more messy. Like things are just
Yeah.
like there's a lot more scammers and like kind of like pickpockets and like little inconveniences day to day. Like you go to a restaurant and like it's very common for you not to get served immediately in a restaurant in Argentina. It's messier, but it has more soul. And
Yes.
yeah, in the US, I mean, it's messy in its own ways, but I think in general, living in cities in the US can be very isolating and alienating. If
Mm,
especially if you don't have great social skills. And I've just noticed, I think in younger generation, not saying this is the case with you, but I
yeah.
think technology has kind of killed our ability to socialize and to understand how to like talk with one another.
Yeah, and I think the barrier to entry into
Mm,
social skills or social opportunities is so
mm,
difficult because even
mm,
if you find somebody that does want to be social, they're like, I really just don't know. I don't know how to be social. I
mm.
because like nobody knows because not a lot of people do it. So it kind of
Mm.
seems like that. I did just have
Yeah,
the
man.
last episode of my podcast, I had a guy named
Mm.
The Cure for Blur, and he naturally heals vision with like pretty
Interesting.
much relaxation. It might be interesting for you to listen to. It's released if you want it. But
Yeah.
he was like, think of the way that people walk now versus the way our ancestors walked. It's like people
Mm.
walk now and they're just doing whatever. The cars are driving by, they might have music on, they're doing whatever. But when like our ancestors would be walking, they would be like, okay, what predators might be around me or what berries can I pick up that will be
Mm.
valuable for my tribe or oh I found some wood over here that we can use
Mm.
or there's water like right down this way I can hear like they were so immersed in the walk in where they were that it was
Mm.
actually kind of like good for their awareness. And that reminded me a little bit of when you said in Argentina, like, oh, there might be a pickpocket around, or there's a lot of bustling, or maybe the
Mm.
traffic's not very safe, or something like that. Like you're walking with intent and like you're
Oh
immersed and
yeah.
you're so aware of everything going on rather than just like, okay, I'm walking, headphones in, I'm not gonna see anybody else or make eye
Yeah.
contact.
I mean, I got robbed twice when I was in Buenos Aires last time. One time I got pickpocketed without even knowing it. I got back to my place and I like slept and I woke up and I was like, where the hell is my wallet? And I didn't have it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then another time I got kind of like kind of mugged on the street. I didn't get mugged, but somebody was following me at like 3 a.m. and they wanted me to give them my wallet. And I had like, I don't know, the equivalent of $10 USD in my wallet. So I like took the money out, I put it on the ground. Es todo. And the guy was like, oh no, I want more. I was like, oh shit. He's trying to take everything I have. He wants to take my phone, he wants to take my wallet and everything. So I like luckily there was like a crowded section of town, like bars, and I just sprinted towards those and I only lost $10. But after
hmm
those experiences, I was like, man, this is not the US. I need to be tuned in all the time. And I don't
Yeah.
really find like here in the US, people are on their phones, like they're having holding their phones out. You're in Argentina, somebody will just take it from you. Like somebody will take your phone out if you're not being smart. So it kind of being in Latin America, it amplifies your common sense skills. Like you need to have more common sense than you do in the United States. There's areas
Yeah.
in the US that are dangerous, but in general, you have to be much more aware of everything. In Argentina too, like the streets are alive there. The streets are very, very green and bustling. There's people talking. It's a very stimulating, beautiful environment to be in. Like if you're interested in
Mm.
creating or writing or really anything, I think it's a great city to be an artist. And you don't need to know that much Spanish. Like you can go there and speak English and you can be just fine. But knowing Spanish deepens your experience to a large degree.
Yeah. I can
And the people,
imagine.
yeah, and the people appreciate it if you just try. Like you can have the worst Spanish in the world, but if you try, that goes like they kind of look down on it a little bit. If you just go to a store and you just try to speak English, it'd be like, an Argentinian person coming to America and expecting to speak Spanish in a restaurant. So
Yeah.
it's a signal of respect to at least try.
Yeah, that's what I've
Mhm.
heard. My grandpa went to
Mhm.
I think it was the Dominican Republic, and
Yeah,
he
nice.
was like, my Spanish is awful. He doesn't know anything, but he
Mm,
saw like when the waiter would come up or whatever, and he would try or he would say what he does know in Spanish, that like their
mm,
faces would light up and like they became more caring and stuff because they saw that he
mm,
cared for what they were and how they were and things like that. And
mm.
it sounds like a great opportunity to learn too. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
throw yourself in this country, and if you don't know any Spanish, you're going to by the time you get back.
Most certainly. Yeah. And it's again, learning a language it's a very awkward experience. Like you're gonna have so many awkward moments where you just say like a weird thing and people are like, what? And you
Yeah.
just have to like the more comfortable it's a good analogy for life, like learning a language. Like the more
Mm,
uncomfortable, the more awkward moments that you face, the better and better you're gonna get.
yeah.
Hmm.
Were you studying Spanish for a while, or was it something you kind
Hmm.
of learned
Yeah.
so you could travel?
Well, yeah, I had some Spanish knowledge. I've been to Mexico a bunch of times. I've been to Costa Rica, Spain, um, where else? El Salvador. I spent a couple months there last year or 2 years ago. Uh, so I had a good base of Spanish, but one of my main intentions of going to Argentina was just to ramp it up. And my
Yeah.
goodness, did it ramp up. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm some type of Spanish expert. I'm certainly not, but I'm pretty damn good. I can go
Yeah.
anywhere and kind of express what I want and talk about a wide array of different subjects. And the ultimate purpose of language is to communicate. And, my language is not, my use of English is not, Spanish is not perfectly correct. Same with English for that matter. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think learning another language makes your English a lot better, counterintuitively.
Mm, why?
Well, I think it's just because you're getting to the roots of like when you're learning a language, you're getting to like the roots of it, like the roots of the actual like words themselves. So you just become a more verbal person, more fluent, more fluid in all languages and all verbal expressions when you learn other languages. And
Yeah.
another fascinating thing too, it's like if you look at Spanish, for instance, it's a romantic language. So it's derived from Latin ultimately. There was, in Spain, obviously, is where Spanish originated, but it was Latin at one point. Then the Latin turned into this other form of Latin called Vulgar Latin, and that Latin got mixed up with Muslim countries because there were Arab invaders that came up from the south. So you tap yourself into these like different historical traditions when you learn new languages. It just makes you a much more formidable person when you learn other languages, and it
Yeah.
opens up so much connection. You can talk with so many different people now. Like, essentially knowing Spanish, I can connect and communicate with like hundreds of millions of more people around the world. Obviously,
Yeah.
English is the most important language to learn by far. It's the lingua franca, it's the language of trade. But learning other languages, it's formative. It can change your life completely.
Yeah. Like how
Mhm.
powerful is that? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
millions of more people or
Yeah.
friendships or opportunities. Yeah. That's something
Mhm.
I don't think I've ever thought about is like, yeah, we are
Mhm.
cut off from like whole like probably billions of people because
Yeah.
of that like language.
Yeah,
Wow.
but ultimately, if you think about it, English it's the language to know. Like we are
Yeah.
lucky as shit to be native English speakers. Because when I go to Argentina, like I date girls, and I almost have a policy now where I don't want to get into a relationship with a woman that can't speak any English. Because if you're living in a country like Argentina and you don't understand English, it vastly limits your career opportunities and like your opportunities to
Oh.
make good money and advance in life. Because these markets in Latin America, there's just not nearly as much capital flowing around, not nearly as much money. So all of the successful Argentines that I know, like they all know English and they all know it really
Mm.
well. So yeah, I think we're just so lucky to know English.
Yeah. Did you ever
Mm.
help or think about teaching English?
I've thought about it. It's just not that scalable or like leverageable from like
Yeah.
a skill set perspective. I
Yeah,
think I
it's
could
you
do
just
it.
sit with
Yeah.
people and do it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I kind of just by being in a place like Argentina, a lot of people are learning English and it's a huge value add to just be able to
Oh,
speak English
okay.
with people. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I'm there, I go to a lot of language meetups. There's this event called Munolingo where, different people from all around the world, there's a lot of Argentines, they just get together and you have different flags that indicate the different languages you know. And it's a beautiful experience to help somebody learn English and just to kind of give
Yeah.
them my perspective on it.
That's really cool. I like
Hmm.
that. To
Hmm.
pivot a little bit now, it's
Sure thing,
always
man.
seemed like from your posts and everything,
Yeah.
reading is like one of your favorite things, is what it
Well,
seems like to me. And that you're
without a
always
doubt.
reading something
Mm.
like different,
Mm.
like that nobody's heard of, expanding your knowledge very
Yeah.
deeply. Have you
Mm.
read anything really good lately?
Yeah, well, recently I've been on this huge classics kick. I've literally almost exclusively been reading books in the Bible and then Homer for the last like year. I've read the Iliad twice, I've read the Odyssey twice. I'm just finding myself kind of giving myself my own like Western civilization PhD because I think in a lot of ways we're in a very weird period as a culture and as a society here in the US where it seems like everything that made our country great is under attack in a lot of ways. So I
Yeah.
find that rooting myself down in the classics like Homer and the Bible are huge. I know that's a boring answer, but I keep reading different books in the Bible because it's huge. It's like a library. So I'm reading the book of Samuel, which is about, David, who's an incredibly inspiring person. He was like a warrior, a poet, a spiritual leader. So I think that for me, that's where the highest ROI is in reading those types of
Mm.
books. I'm also reading another book called it's called The Grand Chessboard, is what it's called, and it's about geopolitics. It was written in the late '90s by, I think he's American, but it's just about geopolitics, and I'm fascinated by the interrelationships of different countries. But yeah, reading the Bible and reading the Iliad and the Odyssey, I would highly recommend it for anybody.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because they are classics and that forms like a foundation of
Well,
like what is the modern world now.
exactly, because if you think about the Iliad and the Odyssey, those are more or less the first works of fiction, if you can call them. I mean, it's
Okay. Yeah,
it's
I'm not
debatable.
familiar with those.
Yeah, well, it's debatable whether like there's some truth in it. Like there was a battle that happened, but they're legends, they're myths. It's mythology. And you can draw a direct line from the Iliad and the Odyssey to so this is the ancient Greeks to the ancient Romans. They were hugely influenced by Homer's work. Then if you take a look at the ancient Romans, they influenced Christian thinkers. They influenced Shakespeare. There's a direct line from that to the books and the stories that we believe in now, to like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. Um, it's all a continuous lineage of stories. And when you go back to the beginning, it's incredibly powerful to read the stories yourself. Because have you ever heard of the Lindy Effect, Reese?
I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. I think I've just heard that term before.
Well, it's a very powerful mental model. It's essentially
Okay.
the theory that any type of non-perishable good, like an idea, the longer that idea has been around, the longer it's likely going to continue being around.
Mm.
So ideas more or less have like replication value. So the idea that like essentially what it means is things like the Iliad and the Odyssey, they exist today because they have provided massive amounts of value to humans for such a long period of time.
Yes.
And it's likely they're going to continue lasting for at least as long as they've existed already. They've
Yeah.
been around for about 2,500 years. With the Lindy effect, they're likely going to continue existing for another 2,500 years. And
Yes.
if you use that
Okay.
same logic, let's talk about a modern book like Atomic Habits. I'm not going to shit here on Atomic Habits, but it's only existed for maybe about 5 6 years. I don't know when it was written, but sometime around then. Based off of the Lindy effect, it's probably only going to be around for another 5 or 6 years. And people will only be talking about it as this like powerful idea for that much longer. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it certainly does. And
Hmm.
that's why things like the Bible and those other two books are still around, is because they've
Hmm.
simply just been around. I think
Hmm.
like everybody now, like you ask
Hmm.
anybody now, it's like, okay, were the movies slash the music or slash whatever in the 90s better than in the 2000 in the 2020s? And almost everybody would say yes. And it's like,
Hmm.
not that we know if they're better or not, but that it's just they have aged. And
Hmm.
if we think about like, okay, what movies are good in 2025, we're going to be thinking about all the movies that we watched in 2025, even the bad ones. But if you think about like, okay, what movies were good in the 1990s, you're going to be
Hmm.
thinking about only the good ones because those are the ones that you can remember. So it's like you're
Exactly.
not going to be
Yeah.
thinking about the bad ones that are bringing the average way down, because the
Mm.
good ones are what stick around.
Yeah, the good ones have value. Like they inspire people. And I mean, I think one of the reasons the movies suck now is just because the industry has changed completely. And from
Yeah.
my understanding, like I mean, we're just mass producing these sequels of sequels of sequels. But
Mm.
ultimately, I'm a big advocate for people reading the classics and rooting themselves down. And it helps you understand the people that started this country. It helps you understand just the trajectory of humanity and what makes a good man, and like, because these ancient Greeks, for them, honor and dignity and courage were these really important values. And I think more than ever, we need an infusion of these classical values because we're losing our way as a global culture.
Yeah,
Hmm.
certainly. And
Hmm.
with less and less people reading these things, or like people aren't aware.
Hmm.
Like I'd
Hmm.
heard of those two other books that you mentioned,
Hmm.
but I wasn't like aware of them or what they were or why I should read them. It's like it's just fewer people are aware of these things. So then that's just less people that can read them. And then that's when you lose sight of like the foundation and the originals because people just don't know. And there's all of these things going on. It's like, I bet there's thousands of books being published a year that you can find at Walmart and things like that, and
Yeah.
YouTube and social media everywhere. It's like very difficult to find these things unless you have somebody to share them with you.
Exactly, man. And I think the other thing with these books is that they're very difficult to read. They're dense, they're full of information, and it's not fast dopamine, it's very slow dopamine. Like, you slowly read these books because it's difficult to just sit down and read the Iliad for like 2 hours at a time. You need to do it in little chunks. So it's a very good practice and discipline and mental fortitude. And if you can read these books, it enhances your critical thinking skills as well. Because when you read any type of article that you see on the internet or something in the New York Times or any type of news piece, it's much easier to understand. It's like going to the gym and lifting really heavy weights, like studying these
Yeah.
books. It's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
think that's really cool.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's a huge part of my life, reading. I love it. And obviously, like, I I think a lot of reading that we do is masturbatory. We kind of just do it so we can check off a box and
So you can
say,
say
like,
that you read today.
yeah, I did
Yeah.
that for years. Like, I used to track all my books on Goodreads. I'm like, oh, look at me. I read 45 books this year. How cool am I? But I really wasn't like integrating anything that I read in these books. I was just reading them and then moving immediately on to the next one. But when I read these classics, I chew on them. Like, every book I read in the Bible, I'll go into YouTube, I'll go into ChatGPT, I'll have a discourse with ChatGPT about the meaning of it. I'll go in, I'll watch scholarly opinions on the book. So it's if you read these books, don't just read them. You have to study them. You have to
Yeah.
extract all of the value from it because there's so many layers of meaning that you can
Mm.
find in these books. And if you don't sit with it, you're really not gaining anything from it. So I really
Yeah.
think that, like, I could read these books, those two books, the Iliad and the Odyssey. I could just read those books the rest of my life, and I
Hmm.
would learn vastly different things every single time I pick it up and read it.
Yeah, that's exactly
Mm,
what came into my head. It's like, well,
mm,
people wouldn't need to read 52 books in 52 weeks if they were getting all of the value from one book. Even
mm,
probably
mm,
you can only read two or three even modern books if you're sitting with the full value of them over the course of
mm,
a year. But it's like, yeah, you get a dense book and you learn that for what it is and you dive deep and make the connections and things like that. You don't,
mm,
yeah, really just reading the books is just like a something to show off. And that's kind of how I've been too. It's like I don't always like reading that much. I don't read
mm,
every day. I read maybe a couple times a week for
mm,
literally like 15 or 20 minutes each time. Like I'm not a big reader, but when I do read, it's like if I get the idea that I want or something that sparks an idea or a thought, I'm going to get out my journal and then I'm going to journal about it. Or I'm also going to like chat with AI and see
mm,
if I can expand my thoughts, or I'm going to implement that idea into my business. Like I have no attachment to continuing to read. If I get the idea, I'm like, all right,
mm.
thank you for serving me. Put the book down. Like I
Yeah.
did it, I think 2 weeks ago. I've read two paragraphs before bed and I got what I needed. So I put the book down, wrote about it, and went to bed. It's like
Mm,
I could have kept reading, but that's just kind of how I've found that me
mm.
personally I read is I just enjoy doing it. So maybe those books would be good for me because they're meant for just getting in bits and pieces and then exploring that for yourself. Because I do
Yeah.
find it more fun to explore the ideas of a book rather than just read the pages itself.
Sure, man. No, I resonate with that a lot. I don't think you don't have to feel this obligation to finish a book that you start. And I think that's why most people
Mm-mm.
suck at reading, frankly, is because
Yeah.
they'll get a book that they hear, like a friend will recommend it, they'll see it in the Times or whatever, it's a best-selling book. They're like, this is good, I have to read this. And then they start reading it, but they're not really into it. So then they just stop reading it completely. They just stop reading everything. So
Hmm.
you have to follow your intuition with reading. I think the best reading advice I could give to anybody is just read what you want to read. Like, don't read a
Hmm.
book because it's, like, in a way, like, I started reading the classics because I thought it would make me a more cultured person, and it does. But that's not really why I'm reading these books. Like, I'm reading these books because I'm seeking the truth. And I think the truth is found in older books. I mean, like, the truth is found in modern books. I'm not telling anybody to, like, neglect trends that are happening and not to, stay on the cutting edge of, like, artificial intelligence and crypto and all of that. But I think for reading, you're going to get your most value out of reading older books that have been propagated
Hmm.
for a really long time. And you're going to understand the society you live in much better. It's like a superpower, I think,
Yeah.
knowing these books and reading them. And I think we are starting to see a big return to them. I don't know. I haven't looked at it, but I would wager that we're gonna have a lot of people that are coming back to these books, in the next few
Hmm.
years.
Yeah. And I think
Hmm.
that's in part due to like this Western world really losing its foundation. And people
Hmm.
will understand it's like, okay, we can get back to this. These resources, these books are still available. Like
Hmm.
we can reset ourselves. And we see that movement almost every day now. It seems like
Hmm.
there's some new thing on my Twitter feed about like, well, lately it's been the new food health pyramid or the
Hmm.
food pyramid.
Hmm.
Um, it's like we are getting back to what we know is real and what the foundation actually is. And those books feel like they are that foundation. And then yeah,
Hmm.
still with the cutting edge stuff, with the new stuff, cryptocurrency and AI. What else has been really big? Vibe coding, things like that.
Yeah, 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 sure.
It's like
AI, pretty much AI, yeah. Hmm.
those things it doesn't feel like you need a full book for because there's so many articles, there's so many podcasts, there's so many different sources of education for these new cutting edge modern things. And then once you
Hmm.
want to get down to like foundational values, um what else?
Hmm.
Philosophical ideas, then you
Hmm.
can go back. So there's kind of that balance there of like, okay, old books, I'm going to get my foundation.
Hmm.
I'm going to know what my values are, what I want to be. And now it's like, I want to apply this foundation to modern skills
Hmm.
using modern media or modern technology too. Like there might be a really cool balance there that I feel myself leaning toward a little bit now.
Yeah, I think you have to have one foot in the old, one foot in the new at all times. It's paradox. The truth is always paradoxical, and got to have our feet in the ground, head in the sky at all times. You have to be a little bit delusional, but a little bit grounded, in
Yeah.
life, all at the
Yeah,
same
I love
time.
that. A little bit
Yeah,
delusional and a little bit grounded. That's because that
yeah,
will take you very far, I'm sure.
yeah. I mean, I'm happy with where my life is, and that's my personal philosophy is like you need to have bold, ambitious goals and like build beautiful things, but you got to have your feet on the ground to be realistic about it as well.
Hmm.
Maybe there's probably people that would disagree and push back on that, but that's kind of my view.
Yeah, if that's what
Hmm.
works for you and I and whoever's listening, that's what works. And if it doesn't work
Exactly.
for somebody else, they will learn what works, and maybe they'll come
Yeah.
back around and realize that that is what works for them too.
Yeah, I don't have the answers for anybody. The older I get, the less I try to convince people of anything. It's like people are just going to be people. And I think the
Hmm.
biggest way that you can actually influence people to change is just by being you and like letting yourself be like the spark of change in other people. Other people will feel your energy and they'll feed off of it if they, if they see you moving in a direction that they want to be in. That's the only way they're going to change.
Yeah,
Hmm.
certainly, because
Hmm.
they will see that they'll know that it's possible, and they won't feel
Mm.
forced. It's kind of
Exactly.
like I'm sure that you've heard it before as a sales guy. Like people don't want to be sold to, but they love to buy. It's like people don't
Mm.
want to be told what to do, but they still do want to do better or do what they like. And it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
just leading by example. And that's where it really goes back to kind of things that I work with holistic health and energy and
Mm.
having high energy throughout your day. It's like those things are going to help you be at your best self. So that way you can
Mm.
now go follow your hobbies and things like that. You can have a social life if you're not just drained the whole evening and the whole afternoon and you're not exhausted. It's like
Mm,
then you can start doing the things that you want to do. That brings you your personal power back. You have
mm.
energy, you're healthy, you're not going to have to worry about like horrible health issues for the most part because you're taking that into your own hands so that you can be who you want to be. From that place, you can then move, have power behind your movement. You can then help others or grow your business that's going to help others or yeah, whatever that may be. And that really just starts with like that foundation of like
Mm.
being in that space that you can do that with good health and high energy and things like that. And then it also ties in of like the really positive mindset and knowing your values, like we were talking about with the books.
Exactly, man. Exactly. I'm a huge proponent of taking care of my health. I think I lift weights like 6 times a week typically. It's probably too much for some people, and love running, having like a high VO2 max, being strong, eating good whole foods, high
Yeah.
protein diet. It's just it's low hanging fruit, man. It's like it's a necessity.
Yeah. And because it feels so good. Once you do a couple of those things, you know that it feels good. So you're like, okay, why would I want to stop? Why would I
Mm.
not want to lift weights? Why would I not want to eat this kind of wonderful food for me? It's
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
it just feels so good. It's like, why wouldn't you?
yeah, and I used to always think that like eating nutritiously meant like, eating like kale and like these like horrible tasting
Yeah.
salads, but eating healthy is like the tastiest thing in the world. Like
Yes.
you eat a steak with some honey and some butter on it and like, you know, you get some potatoes on the side like nice and
Yeah.
crisped like with some nice salt and peppers. Like that's the best tasting shit in the world and it's so good for you.
Yeah, that's always what I think when I'm having a good meal. I had steak last
Hmm.
night and I was eating it so slowly too and like chewing and just really being present with that meal and it felt great looking back on
Hmm.
it now. But it was like, yeah, I wouldn't want like Oreos right now or a cheeseburger right now.
No, no,
It's
no.
like that's
Well,
actually sounds quite disgusting because this is like so good. And I don't know how to cook. I never taught myself how to cook. It's just
really?
intuitively like,
Yeah.
no, it's like but I can just do it because
Oh, I
well,
see what
first
you're
I
saying.
know what I want to eat, but like yeah, I never
Mm.
took classes or like was in the kitchen with my mom and was like, okay, mom, what do I do here? It's
Hmm.
like I kind of just made it for myself. So I guess I say that to show like you don't need to know how to cook. The barrier to entry to learning how to cook good food is like a couple hours of just experimenting at a couple different dinners. You will figure out what you like. And I don't
Mm.
think cooking is that difficult of a skill where you can't learn it in order to make delicious food for yourself.
Yeah, but it's like anything though. Like if you want to get really, really good, like there's so many levels. Like
Oh,
cooking is
yeah, yeah.
an infinite rabbit hole, just like writing or any other
Mhm.
artistic endeavor or craft. But yeah, I agree to like cook basic food. It's pretty damn
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, I was not saying
Mm.
I'm not like a phenomenal
Yeah.
chef. Like you will eat a
Mhm.
meal from me and it's very normal, but it's not bad. Like
Yeah, of
if
course.
your healthy food tastes bad, you have a little bit of learning to do.
I would agree. I mean, really the key for me is just butter and garlic and
Yep.
olive oil. I've been using a lot of beef tallow too. It's incredible.
Oh, I've never cooked with it, but I want to. Maybe I'll
It's
get
nice.
some, but I
You
love
should.
the taste of coconut oil, so I
Mm.
just do everything with that. I think it's so delicious. I put it in my coffee too. It's like, oh, I
Hmm.
just want coconut oil and everything. But yeah,
Hell yeah.
butter. So, and then just enough salt and pepper, you can't go wrong.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of salt that makes it go bad, but yeah, I agree with you. A lot of salt goes a long way.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
But I also wanted to touch on the sales a little bit
Let's touch on
because
it, brother. Let's do it.
yeah, I bet you'll be really excited too. That's what I've seen your posts on lately, on LinkedIn at least.
Hmm.
And they've
Yeah.
been about sales and they're all so unique. They don't
Mm.
sound like, now I'm not like in a super sales space online, so I don't see a lot, but they don't feel like something a normal salesperson would say.
Mm.
Like, I guess
Yeah.
the vibe that I kind of get from your posts are like, just do it.
Yeah. Sales, I think it's the most important skill that any human can learn. Like if you want to make it in the world and have a good life, I think I mean, I guess besides health, taking care of your health is just as important, but selling is it's a deeply important act. And it's the basis of our entire economy. Like our economy would not exist if there weren't people selling goods. So I am so bullish on sales because sales is one of the things that AI can't take away from us. If AI takes
Yes.
sales away, then we're cooked. Because
Yeah.
then it's essentially totally imitated the art of human connection. For me, sales is just Obviously, I got into sales to make money. I don't want to sit here and like act like I'm high and mighty and like I'm trying to do sales to make the world better. It does make the world better, but I ultimately got in to make money. Sales is a field where if you're doing it right, and if you're working with a product that, if you're selling a product that is getting people good results, you can make such a large impact on the world. I mean, look at our friend Nick Sweeney. He is literally selling breath work every day.
Yeah.
And since it's made like that's what he's doing. Like I think Nick would agree. I mean, he's doing other things as well, but he's selling the idea of breathing and intentionally breathing.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that makes people better. Nick is really, really good at sales, even though
Mhm.
like most people that look at that, they wouldn't really think he's selling anything because he's just passionate about the
Yeah.
service that he provides people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, certainly. Like
Mm,
everything is sales and some idea. You just sold me and
mm.
people on that idea of your like perspective of sales. And I
Yeah,
was, yeah, me and Nick were on a call the other day and I was
yeah,
like, you and Jack literally found out the one way to sell air. Like
yeah,
you guys are selling the one free thing that has ever existed
yeah.
and you're
It's
succeeding.
yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts, but it's like ultimate. A lot of sales is about it's about a lot of things. Sales is largely based on your energy and your ability to
Mm,
like transfer a state to another person. So a lot, I think the reason Nick and Jack are so good is because they're so convicted. Conviction is
yeah.
so important in sales. That can overcome, like, because ultimately your conviction has to overcome the uncertainty of another person. Um, and when you're selling something that's expensive, like I sell like a 7,000, almost $8,000 product, and it's a really hard thing to get somebody to part with $8,000. You have to
Hmm.
build up so much goodwill and trust in that person. And there are people, there's salespeople that are sleazy and they're not good people, and they can see a lot of success for a little while, but the truth always wins. People that are sleazy and like that, they're always going to get found out. Like they never win in the long term. And I think it's really unfortunate. Like when people hear the word sales, they
Hmm.
almost always think of somebody that's like sleazy, like Leo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. And it's
Yeah.
such a sad thing that that's the case because everyone needs to know how to sell. Everyone needs to learn these skills. It's so important if you have an offer on the internet, if you ever want to break out of your 9 to 5 life, I mean, I guess you can code, there's technical skills that you can learn. But if you can't talk with people about those technical skills and why they need those skills,
Yeah.
you're cooked, man.
Yeah. So it's like
Mhm.
it sounds like kind of a framework for success is one skill, ideally like that aligns with your values and your hobbies, plus sales, and you will do whatever you want from
Yeah.
there.
Well, yeah, ultimately, I mean, if you think about any entrepreneur, the only reason they ever are successful, there's building and there's selling. You need to build the thing, then you need to go out and
Mhm.
sell it. Like I think with the Sweeneys, it's like Jack is more of the builder, Nick's more of the
Yep.
seller, um, generally speaking. But it's like you need to be able to build something unique that is solving a problem that the world has, and then you need to be able to sell it. That's really it. I mean, I'm not some super successful businessman over here, but
Yeah.
that's really it.
Yeah. Yeah, my
Mhm.
dad has said something super similar too. He's
Mm.
kind of in sales a little bit. I don't think he actually did like sales calls, but he was part of the sales team. And yeah, he was like the same thing. It was like nothing happens without something being sold because you got to
Mhm.
have something that people want. Where
Mhm.
did you have a background in sales before doing what you're doing now, or did you learn it?
Yeah.
Did you teach
Yeah.
yourself?
Well, yeah, I worked at a corporation for a while. It was like 7 years. I was at an educational technology company in the U.S. and I got I got fired before a round of layoffs. It was really weird. I got fired like 2 days before they had a big round of layoffs, and they kind of created this reason, like this really weird reason to fire me. I thought it was bullshit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm delusional, but I thought it
I,
was just kind of a crazy way. And then so I had 7 years of like corporate sales experience, and then I picked up this high ticket job. I'm at a company called Ship 30 for 30. They write, I mean, it's Nicholas Cole and Dickie Bush. They have these writing offers that teach you how to monetize your writing on the internet and teach you how to become a better digital writer. I like the products a lot. But getting hired by that company, it's totally commission based. So if I don't make a sale, if I don't make sales, I make no money at all.
hmm.
And I learned that the corporate sales skills that I learned, they weren't really sales skills. Like I was kind of like, when you go bowling, like I had the bumper, I had the lanes up, like the
Yes.
bumpers, and now the bumpers are off completely. So I actually needed to learn sales. I paid $20,000 for sales training last year. I have a coach. who worked at a company called Seventh Level, which is essentially like the number one sales training in the world, kind of, or at least based in North America. They have an entire methodology about how you should sell. It's called NEPQ, which stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasive Questioning. And yeah, I've been training a ton with this guy, and it's changing my life. It's changing my earning potential. It's changing the connections that I have. Um, I mean, it's making me better friend. It's making me a better person in general. Because in sales, like you get paid based off your ability to connect with others. That's really what you get paid for. And I'm able to read people better. I'm able to ask questions. I'm able to just generally get more of what I want in life, which is what we all want. We want what we want.
Yeah.
And sales is kind of like it teaches you how to get the things that you want.
Yeah. That's
Hmm.
cool. I think some
Hmm.
people may hear that and like a
Yeah.
little like red flag or trigger would pop up like, "Oh, why do you
Yeah.
always need to get what you want?" But it's not like that. It's like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
a good
No.
dude. You want to do positive. And
Yes.
when you put yourself in that perspective and like the more you get what you want, the more you can then give back outwards to other people or to make
Hmm.
yourself more powerful so that way you have more influence to do a good
Yeah.
positive thing.
Yeah. I agree I agree in like selfless selfishness. I think that's how
Yeah.
we have to kind of like act in reality. It's like obviously you want to be selfish in the sense that you need to take care of your needs. Like you need to take care of having a good environment, like setting up a good future for yourself, having dreams, having ambitions. Like those are all wonderful things. And then once you have that down, like you focus well while you're doing that, while you're building, you need to be good to other people. You can't be selfish and just think about your needs in sales. There's this
Yeah.
idea of commission breath, which it's essentially like if you talk with a salesperson in a sales context, and you can just tell they don't give a shit about you. Like they're just trying
Mm,
to get your money. They want your money to put it in their pocket. They don't really care about anything else. That gives off a horrible energy to the other person.
yeah.
And not only are they never going to want to work with you or your company, everyone leaves the conversation worse off. So your ability to sell is predicated on your ability to serve. It's not a one-to-one
Mm.
correlation, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, that
Hmm.
makes sense because you do
Hmm.
want what's best for this person. And I guess that's where believing the product comes in. It's like
Exactly.
you really know that what you are selling is going to help this person and you know that they want it. You just have to close that gap. And then it's not like convincing them that they need this or that they should buy it. It's just showing them, okay, I have what you want. Here's what this can do for you. Here's how we bridge that. Not like I need your money and I don't care what you're getting. Like
No,
that's yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
That
nobody's gonna buy from a guy like that.
Well, they might, but then they're never going to refer people to you, and they're probably never
Yeah.
going to purchase anything from you ever again. And you
Hmm.
can make money doing that in the short term, but it always blows up, if you have a
Yeah.
product or service like that. And yeah, man, we, yeah, I think that there is just such a negative connotation with business and sales among a lot of people. But that's part of what makes America such a wonderful place. It's built on the back of entrepreneurs and risk takers. So I think if we really want to live a hero's journey, if we want to live a good life, like we got to learn how to sell.
Yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you mentioned that your energy is like a part of that.
Huge
What is
part.
that like going into the call? Like how do you
Yeah.
prepare yourself or what are some mental frames does that
Yeah.
come up for you?
Well, usually like the main mental frame that I set is like take the sales hat off. Like stop trying to like sell anything to anybody. And then, and just like this is a human being that I'm getting like that's the main frame that I use. Like be
I
calm.
see.
Like emotional regulation is a huge part of sales and a huge part of everything in life, but especially in sales. Like people are going to annoy you. People are people. Like we have limiting beliefs and fears and irrational beliefs that we have that hold us up from doing things that we want to do. And you just got to meet everybody exactly where they're at. And you have to give them the space to realize that the ways of thinking and the ways of doing things that they're doing them now aren't helping them. That's a big part of the sales that I'm in. Because a lot of people, they have fear and a lack of belief in themselves. So really, you're helping them transform. Like a good salesperson is almost like a spiritual guide. I mean
Yeah.
that.
On
Yeah.
the call before they even buy anything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. But really, you have to go into your sales calls without the intention of like trying to close them. Like that scares away people. It's like if you go on a date with a girl and like all you're thinking about is getting laid the whole date, and like everything you do,
Yeah.
like she's gonna be like, "The hell is wrong with this guy?" Like I'm good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
That's a
that.
super good analogy, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
what does
yeah.
that look like going
Mm,
into the call for you,
mm.
in the conversation or how you lead the conversation?
Well, yeah, being sales, like being a good salesperson, actually, good sales is good leadership. Like no one's gonna buy something from you if they don't feel like you're leading them in the conversation. So having a control of the frame and knowing in every single call that you have, it's like kind of it's your zone. Like you're the person that they're coming to for help. So you can't be their friend. You have to be very friendly, but you're like a friendly guide, more or
Yeah.
less in sales. And I think a lot of salespeople when they start, like something that fucked me up for months is like I'm a really friendly guy and I just like connecting with people.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of like goodwill with people, but they didn't like trust me. So it's just going into the calls that you have with, like if somebody's on a call with you in a sales context, they're coming for you. They're coming to you for help. Like they've got some type of problem. They would not be on a call with you if they didn't have some type of pain, some type of,
Hmm.
pain that they needed alleviation for. So it's just really your goal as a salesperson be really curious and find out everything about their situation and whether the thing that you have can help them. Sometimes it doesn't, legitimately. Like
Yeah.
sometimes what you have like will not help them. And sometimes people aren't open-minded to be helped. Like a lot of people, I think what kills a lot of deals is ego from both the salesperson and the person being sold to. Like they
Yeah.
have a belief that they can just figure out themselves, even though they've been trying to figure this thing out for years. So it's your goal as a salesperson to like have a mirror up for them. And like, here's you,
Mm.
man. Like this is you right now. And if you keep doing all the things that you've been doing, you're going to keep being that person. But here's this thing that you said could help you out. If you take this path, you could be a totally different type of person, a person that you want to
Yeah.
be. Mhm.
So it's
Does that make
I think
sense?
yeah, because I relate to that a little bit where it's like
Hmm.
I'm extremely friendly and not like super people pleasing, but like I will like support what they're saying or I will be like, yeah, I get you. And I think like in sales, it is like that friendliness aspect of it of like, yeah, I
Hmm.
understand where you're at being empathetic, but then pushing them a little bit.
You have to
And
push
it,
them a lot. Good
yeah,
sales is like,
a
frankly,
lot
it's pretty
from that friendly
uncomfortable.
perspective a
Yeah,
little bit.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly. Well, you're doing so. If you look at a guy like Jesus Christ, from the Bible, one of the
Hmm.
reasons he was,
Top salesman.
yeah, well, yeah, but he spoke to people truth with love. He wouldn't always tell you what you wanted to hear. Like
Yeah.
sometimes he would just tell you exactly what's going on, but it's all from this deep place of love. So you always want to speak truth with love. And a lot of the time, that's a really uncomfortable message. And
Yes.
sometimes people are going to fight against that. Like you know, you're going to hit some serious barriers as a salesperson and other people. You're going to get uncomfortable. You're going to get rejected. You're going to get people slamming the door in your face and saying, fuck you. But
Hmm.
as long as you're not being an asshole, like you can't take it personally. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're just reflecting on themselves. Like they're reacting to their own image in the mirror. It's not you.
Yeah. If that's what
Hmm.
you're bringing up and that's just what they're seeing.
Yeah,
And
sometimes
it's
that
like, oh,
happens.
that's
Yeah.
yeah. I saw a
Hmm.
tweet from I think it was Nick Sweeney on or maybe it was on LinkedIn actually, but he was like, I literally don't get how you guys don't close. Just don't end the call until you hear yes.
Yeah. Which
It
is
was
yeah,
like,
it's a bit of a ridiculous perspective, but I hear what he's
yeah,
saying. Like it's
yeah.
funny.
It's like you're
And
allowed to keep pushing or keep
mhm.
showing them. And yeah, I think that, yeah, where I was going with that is like you can keep doing that without
Mhm.
like feeling bad about it because it's coming from this place of love. I get when you're selling from the right perspective, selling the right product, when
Yeah,
it's coming from
exactly.
this place of love and truth, and you're like, I know that I am genuinely doing no harm because this will help this person for certain. So it's
Mhm.
like that kind of opens you up the abundance to be pushy and to challenge them because you're doing them a favor.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would say you don't want to be pushy, but you do want to be challenging. Because
Mm,
pushy, I think it almost always has a negative connotation. Like
okay.
the second somebody feels you being pushy, you like in sales calls, there's this idea of something called sales resistance. So sales resistance is essentially when somebody essentially notices that you're trying to sell them, they kind of back off a little bit. And in sales, a big part of it is just being really adept at reading cues of people, both verbally and non-verbally. Like if you're on a call like this, there's all
Yeah.
types of different tells that people will say or and also the tonality. Tonality is a huge part of sales. Not what you say definitely matters, but how you
Mm-hmm.
say it matters a ton more. Like I could see you in person, and I'd be like, hey, like what's up, man? Like, what's up, Reese? Um, and you're like, what the fuck? Or if I'm, hey, like,
Yeah.
what's up, man? Like, what's going on? Like those come from totally different energies, and
Yeah.
like all of us are really adept at reading those because I think it's roughly 90% of human communication is nonverbal. It goes much beyond the words we're saying. So in
Yeah.
sales, you have to train your voice and you have to train yourself to be curious and to slow down the way that you ask questions. If I ask you like, hey, like Reese, man, like what's really like going on that's got you like wanting like further training, like that goes a lot further than me just being like, Reese, what's going on? What's got you wanting further training?
Yeah.
But when you say it slow, you invite a more intentional and slow response when you ask
Mm.
the question in a slow, kind of drawn out fashion.
Yeah. And then they kind of reflect that back in their response.
Yeah, typically, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds bad, but on sales calls, you kind of train the person that you're talking with to speak in the way that you want them to speak in, more or less. It's almost like
Mhm.
it sounds awful and it sounds really unethical,
A
but it's
little
like
bit.
dog training. Like
Yeah.
there's an aspect to this. If you want to get good at sales, you have to be able to set a very strong frame in the call, or else people are going to walk all over you and they're never going to buy.
Yeah. And you
Hmm.
would, just to clarify, I think you would
Yeah.
want to get them to slow down with your question by asking the question slower. So that way they slow down, they think they might get a little bit of a deeper
Yes.
answer that dives
Yes.
deeper into the pain or into the challenge they're experiencing.
Exactly. It helps them get
Yeah.
to the
Okay.
truth of like their reality much better when you ask questions
Mm.
that way. When you ask questions in this jittery, anxious, quick way, you're doing everybody a disservice,
Yeah.
really, is what's going on. And if you hop off a call with somebody and they're limiting like they're self-limiting BS beliefs, if they are still intact and they're not questioning them at all, then you've done a poor job. Like not everybody's going to buy from you. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
Especially if you were selling for another person's offer. Typically, like in a situation like Nick, he designs his app. He is going to be much better at selling that thing than essentially any salesman you could ever find, because he created the thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, like, typically, if you're a CEO and you created a product, like, you're going to be a lot better at selling it than a rep. But at some point, if you're scaling your business and you've got a sufficient cash flow, you don't have the time to be selling it all the time. Like, you have to create content or higher level
Yeah.
marketing strategies or iterate on the product itself. That's why salespeople will always have roles.
Mm. So
Yeah,
I know it may speak for itself a little bit, but I'm curious to hear your answer.
sure.
Why will AI never take over sales?
Well, I
Because
think
we've seen it's like they can create marketing campaigns, they can write copy on a landing page, they can like
yeah,
convince people, but is it that it doesn't have like the energy behind it? I'm just curious
yeah.
to hear your answer with that.
I think at some point AI will definitely be able to sell some things, but I don't think it'll ever be able to take the place of a really good salesman, because sales it's a fundamentally human activity. It's done from one human to another human. In order to be a great salesman, you have to be great at connecting with the other person. And I'm just not quite sure if we can train an AI to totally understand the nuances of human communication in real time, like a human
Yeah.
being can, like a well-trained
Yeah.
salesman could. And
On a
that's why,
call like this too.
exactly, that's why I
Yeah.
don't think sales will ever be replaced by like AI completely.
Hmm.
I think any skill that has a large human element to it, I think will be really hard to replace.
Yeah.
And
Because there's
I
that
think
emotional
mhm,
connection there. And it's like, it's probably even a little bit of like, you ask a potential client or
mhm.
somebody who's interested, do you want to get on a sales call with a real person or with an AI? They're not going to want to get on with an AI. They'll just say no to that in the
Yeah,
first place.
yeah, unless
But
it's like a horrible human, like a really scummy dude. But yeah,
yeah.
generally, I think AI is going to be super hard pressed to replicate a good salesperson. And I think if I could talk with myself in my early, like, I'm not going to give advice to anybody. Actually, I will. I'll say learn how to sell. Like that's what I would say to myself.
Hmm.
That was like how old are you, Reese?
20.
If I was 20, I would literally sit down with myself and be like, hey man, you got to learn how to sell. Go out there and sell something. Like just take a bunch of L's. It's gonna be really uncomfortable and really hard, and that's why you do it. And then
Yeah.
if you do that for like 2 to 3 years, your life's going to be so much better. It's insane. Like if you
Mm.
just are in the sales trenches for a couple of years early in life, um, I mean, so many CEOs, had sales roles previously. It's
Oh,
it's ultimately like ground level business. It's just ground level value transference from one human to another human.
yeah. Because it's
Mhm.
like you're getting to understand how people act and what they actually want. And it's,
Yeah, and how we make decisions. Yeah.
mm,
And something sales has taught me is like we are, me included, literally all of us, we are much more emotionally driven than we are rationally driven. We like to think, the modern man likes to think he's this rational creature, this logical being, but it's just
yeah.
not true. Like even the logical things that you want, like let's say you want a six pack and like $1 million in your bank account. The only reason you want those things is because it's going to make you feel a certain way when you have those
Mm,
things. It's going to make you feel more relaxed, more confident. Ultimately,
yeah.
everything rational is like there's a deeper, it's like the structure of the human brain. Like we have a
Hmm.
prefrontal, human part of our brain at the top of it. The deeper you go, the more animalistic and reptilian things get. But those are really the things that are driving our behavior at a base level.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
that's really funny actually. Like if
Yeah.
you ask why enough times to any
Yeah.
like rational or logical thing, you'll get an emotional why or an emotional reason. That's cool.
Exactly. And I think
Yeah.
most people just don't understand that. And I think I used to think, in my early 20s that I was just this really logical, rational, critical thinking philosophy
Hmm.
grad. And like, man, I was just so emotional and full of shit when I look back at it. Um, like the older I get, the more unsure I become of everything. And the fact that I don't really have the answers. There's certain things that I can plug and play in my own reality that seem to like work and make my life better. Um, that's it.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's developing maturity. Whereas like I think of myself in like high school too. It was that like
Hmm.
super logical, very rational and things like that too. I was like, yeah, like I am above people because I think in this way.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah,
exactly.
that's very funny. Even that in alone, like I think I'm better than other people because I think of in this very logical, rational way. Me thinking that I am above is an emotional thing.
It is.
It's
No,
like,
it is. You just want to feel superior. You want to feel
yeah,
unique. And that's a
yeah.
deep human urge. And yeah, man, I think my life just gets better the more and more I understand how humans really work. And sales
Yeah.
is just the perfect way to learn how humans work. Such a good way. If you want to know how we really make decisions, you gotta see people when they're under pressure or they feel fear. It's a really interesting training ground
Yeah.
for psychology.
Yeah, it is cool that it's like that.
Mm,
Like you can get these extreme emotions to come up and feelings in a
mm,
safe space. Like it just in a call
mm,
or in a conversation too. Like you know that
mm,
it's going to be all right, but you get these like very intense moments in high pressure situations. I'm curious
mm.
what like being in those sales trenches the first few years, how did that shape you? Like getting told no
Well,
a lot, maybe
and
being in those scenarios where you're like, "Oh, high pressure."
I mean,
How did
it's,
that
it's
shape
totally
you?
it's totally changed me as a person completely. Like I feel like I'm a much better, calmer, relaxed, discerning person. I'm able to just size up social situation, like because something being in the sales trend, something selling teaches you how to do is like reading behind the words. When somebody tells you something, there's usually a lot that's underneath that. If somebody's like, like I kind of just need to think about it. When somebody tells you you need to think about something, it means they're not sure. It means they
Mm,
just genuinely do not know if the thing that you have is what's going to help them out. So in real life, it's just trained me to just see underneath the words that people are actually saying. It's made me much more chill. Like I'm just so much like I've had weeks and months that were horrible in sales. Then I've had other months and weeks that were incredible. So it just really teaches you how to flow with the ups and downs of life and with just things that come your way. And it just makes you a calmer and better person, I'd say.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's really powerful.
Well, it's made me that, at least. That's all I can really say. Hmm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like I'm much more fearless. Like I'll go up to people and say things. I'll ask girls out more confidently than I used to be able to do because it's just like, man, genuinely, what if she says no? Like it doesn't really matter, like at
Okay.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I'm gonna be in the same position that I'm in now if she says no. So yeah, it just teaches you to be more courageous and take more leadership of your life, more leadership of the people that are around you.
hmm That sounds
Hmm.
like it ties into like not people pleasing as much. I think part of that, like we were talking about
Mm,
earlier, was like this kind of like just weakening Western world has
yeah,
really formed around people pleasing and like not wanting to upset somebody and listening to them and respecting them. And it's like in sales, it's like the opposite. It's like I'm
mm,
going to say something and they might tell me no, or they're going to tell me something and I'm not going to take their word for it. I'm going to challenge them. I'm going to see what they
yeah.
really think. It literally sounds like the opposite of people pleasing in a way.
But it's like, well, it is and it isn't. It's like,
Yeah,
agreeableness, it tends to be, it's like the ocean, the big five personality test. You ever heard of that?
I think so.
So ocean, it's an acronym. So it's essentially, this is a psychological test, the big five personality test. O is for openness, and C is for conscientiousness, E is for extroversion, A is for agreeableness, N is for neuroticism. So essentially, we are 0 to 100 on every one of those scales, and you
Yeah.
take kind of the rating of each one of those scales, and that's kind of like your personality quantified. And in sales, I think you have to be like 50% on the agreeableness side. Like you
Mm,
always want to validate what people say to you. Like you never want to
yes.
like you always would be like, yeah, like I hear that. Like I can understand why this would be the case, but then you can push back. Although but
Yeah.
tends to be a word that gets people on the defensive. So a lot of the time I agree with people and I'm like, and, instead of saying but, because a lot of the
Mm,
time when you say but, it like, they're like, oh, he's contradicting me internally.
yeah.
So all of these words, all of the words that you use in sales, and the order that you use the words, it's so important. There's this whole school called NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. It's essentially the study of how words map onto your brain. It's a fascinating field. It's a little pseudoscientific, a little out there, but that's what NEPQ, like the sales training that I've been trained in, is based on NLP.
Mm. That sounds super, super fascinating
It
because
is.
it's like these little different things, like the but versus and. I've heard of
No.
that before and I've used that in my own language. Like I will rarely say but, and
Mm,
I try to say and, or I'll just make it two different sentences too. Like
mm-hmm.
just not saying but. And then I've also noticed since kind of changing that for myself that when I hear somebody else say but, I immediately like tense up or like put up this wall because I'm like, oh, they're gonna contradict me. I know what's coming next. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
100. I mean,
and
in
I'd be,
sales, you're just becoming an artist with
yeah,
words, and you're becoming an artist with value, because that's sales. Like the more value you provide, and frankly, like the more value you provide somebody, the more money you make as a salesperson. It's really that simple. But the counterintuitive thing is that like what is valuable a lot of the time is helping people confront their bullshit. Like that's one of the most valuable things that you can do for another person. And when you go into calls trying to help them step out of ignorance and trying to educate them and trying to give them a clear picture of what their life is like and like the trajectory that they're on. That's a super super valuable thing to do. And I think
yeah,
a good salesman is almost like a therapist. Like there's some common ground between a therapist or like a psychologist. So yeah, that's why I love sales so much. I really dig it.
yeah. That's
Mhm.
cool. And even in this conversation up till now, there's been so many different little things that go into this like one
Yes.
skill of sales. And like I guess scales is a very like broad term because there's so many different little things that can go into it and
Yeah.
everybody might have a different perspective
Well,
or your trainings worked really good for you and
well,
somebody else's trainings worked really good.
well, well, and here's the thing too. It's like I think a lot of sales trainers, they'll try to like train everybody the same way. But
Hmm.
you're Reese Moby. I'm Tommy Christie. Like the way I sell is always going to be different than the way you sell because we're just
Yeah.
different dudes with like different life experiences. Just like the same way, like your writing is different than my writing, and my writing is different than Jack Moses's writing because Jack is a different person than me. And like you just have to know that every person is going to sell with like a different vibe, a different flavor, just like sports or like any art, all the basketball players, they have a different style. All
Yeah.
the jazz artists, they have a slightly different style. And that's, like necessary. But there are foundational principles that will help you sell better.
Hmm. That's super awesome. I
Hmm.
love how unique and special sales can be to one person. I think that's
Yeah. Hmm.
probably what makes it such an art. That's why it is an art. That's why it's
Hmm.
not, it's more of an art than a skill from
Hmm.
from my perspective at least. I don't know
Yeah.
about
Well,
you, but
I mean, I think everything, like everything broadly speaking is art, like
I love that.
the way you make your bed in the morning, the way you live your life is art, and you have to make every day like this beautiful art piece, and you have to just get better and better at the technique towards doing anything. Being a human, it's like there's an art to being a human. There's an art to living your life.
Yeah.
There's an art to the way that you ask questions. There's an art in the way that you show up with your mother and your dog, and it's all this beautiful because it's all happening right now. It's all this
Yeah.
beautiful process of creation. Like, this moment we're having here, Sunday, January 18th,
Hmm.
2026, 5:23. This is never gonna happen again. Like this moment's just gone.
No.
But
Yeah.
it's happening right here and it's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's what we get. What a beautiful way to live. It's like when you
Yeah.
treat what if you did treat everything as art? Making your bed, making your breakfast, the decent, good enough cooking skills that I mentioned,
Hmm.
sales, work, business, like if everything wasn't art, art is kind of like when I think of art at least, it's like okay, how beautiful can this be? Like when I'm
Mm.
like doing art, when I'm writing, I'm like, okay, how good, how beautiful can this be? What if you
Hmm.
applied that mindset of art to everything, and then suddenly life is like a fun game of how beautiful can I make this? How great
Yeah.
can this be?
That's well said, man. Yeah, and that's how I view my own life. That's how I view everything. It is art. Art is life. Life is art. Life is also
Mhm.
sales. Uh, yeah, there's like the deeper I get into all these things, like there's just so many paradoxes. I think the universe is just a giant paradox. Like all truth is paradoxical.
Yeah, to some extent. Well, no,
Mm-hmm.
not even to some extent.
Yeah, I feel like it all. Like, have you ever read the Tao Te Ching? The Tao Te Ching?
Yeah, I've read
Yeah,
a lot of parts of it. I don't
yeah.
think I've read the whole thing, but
Well, it's
yeah,
just a
it
giant
really
paradox. Like, you just don't understand any of it. Yeah,
I know. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
And
like
it's like,
every verse seems like unrelated to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, but you sit with like those little chunks at a time, just like what we talked about earlier. You sit with
mm,
these little chunks at a time, and then once you develop that skill of like critical thinking, sitting with what you just read, you don't take that as like black and white 100% truth. You take
mm,
that and you're like, okay, for me right now, this applies to this part of my life and this part of my life. And then maybe you read the next verse and you're like, okay, that kind of contradicts what I just read,
yeah,
but I'm critically thinking about it. I'm reviewing, reflecting on this. And then you're like, oh, well, this applies to this part of my life and this other thing. It's like
yeah.
that's why not every truth is 100% truth because it's where it applies or where you can use
Yeah.
that.
100%, man. I mean, the ultimately, I just had a good quote in my head. I think it's a good quote. It made sense in my head. It's like the more you think, the less you know. The more you think about the things that are happening, the less you realize that you actually know what's going on. And I think the more we like, it's tempting to try and understand everything that's happening in your life, but you kind of understand more when you stop trying to understand.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Did did your connection with God help you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, I recently started this connection with God, and yeah, yeah. I mean, I every single day I try to read the Bible before I open my phone, and I try to pray as well. Usually just like 5 minutes. Usually it's just like gratitude for God. But believing in God has just been a godsend, like it like
Yeah.
makes everything in my life way, way better. Like I'm not worrying about anything. I don't worry about things. Like sometimes I might worry about them for a little bit, but I kind of just elect not to worry about things because I know God's got my back. And as long as I'm being a good person, it's all generally going to work out for me. As long as I connect with God every day and do my absolute best every day to show up and just try to be better than I was the day before and try to be less of an asshole and more understanding that it's all going to work out for me. That's how
Yeah.
I that's what I
That's
choose to believe.
wonderful.
And I don't like
I
I used to meditate a lot, like I did a whole week of Vipassana meditation training in like 2024. Like literally like for 10 straight days. I didn't even say anything and just meditated all day. And
yeah.
that was great. But now like believing in God, it's like, man, you don't even need like I don't even almost need like I love breath work. I love, what they're building over there, but
Yeah, me
I
too.
almost don't I like for me, prayer is way more powerful. It's like
Hmm.
way more powerful when I can just sit there and like genuinely believe that I'm like talking with the creator of the universe. Like maybe
Yeah.
it's totally delusional and crazy. Like maybe it's just It kind of is in a way because there's no scientific evidence that God exists. But I noticed that when I'm just like, God, man, I love you. Like, just please take care of me. Please take care of my life. I'll continue to love you. I'll continue to throw my praise your way every single day for this glorious existence that you've given me. The more I do that, the better everything gets by an exponential
Mm.
measure.
Yeah. I've
Mhm.
I've got to say that's like one of my favorite ways that I've heard somebody talk about their relationship with God. I think that's
Oh,
so
nice.
powerful. It aligns very well with me. I agree
Mhm.
too. Like sometime like middle December, I was like, I want to meditate every day. So I woke up and meditated for 20 minutes every day for
Mm.
35 days straight. And I
Mhm.
was like, you know what? I don't know if this is helping me. So I just stopped and I feel no different after like 4 or 5
Mm.
days now. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to do this. But like you said, I love breath work. And
Mhm.
after doing breath work, I'm sitting there and I take like my last breath in, or I mean, my first breath in after the coherence, like completion sound goes off. And I'm like, wow, thank you, God. I love you.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you for
Mm.
the sun through the window. Thank you for the breath. And like so much gratitude comes in there. And that like energizes me just as much as the breath work does, if not more. And it's like
Mm.
my like little moments of speaking to God come like that when I wake up sometimes, after breath work, after workouts, sometimes just after driving home. Like I got a safe
Yeah.
ride home, going to bed.
Yeah.
It's like those little moments feel so powerful. And it's
Because
like
they
you
are.
said, you were like, maybe it's delusional. Maybe it's like, well, here's the thing. Whether God exists or not, well, first, what is him existing or not? But whether he exists or not, we believe him and we feel this way, and it energizes us, fills us with so much love. So it's like if he doesn't exist, if somebody told me that he doesn't exist right now for a fact, I wouldn't care because it makes me feel this way. So I'm going to keep doing it. It's
Yeah.
like,
Again,
yeah,
it's
I do believe it. I believe he's there and has my back and has love for me. And that's why it's the belief. It's like Santa
exactly.
Claus. The more you
Mm.
believe in him, the more his sleigh has power to fly around.
Exactly, man. I mean, I think it's, I used to be very atheistic for years. I was agnostic, and I mean, my life was just kind of in shambles. I was just doing very mediocre in like all realms of my life, and I was just upset and like smoking weed all the time and like drinking alcohol all the time, because I was just numbing the pain of my day-to-day existence. When you smoke weed or when you drink, like the reason you do it usually, there's healthy ways to use these things, but I think generally people do these things because something just doesn't feel right. Like they're just like something about their day-to-day feeling. It's like this isn't good the way it is. I need to use this thing. And I think there's that book, Transurfing Reality. I haven't read the whole thing. I've read a lot of it. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the ideas in that book is like attaching importance to things. And I think sometimes when people start off in the spiritual path, they attach so much importance to the idea of a spiritual practice. They're like, I must do this spiritual practice now, or else I will not be spiritually attuned if I don't do this thing.
Yeah.
And I think by doing that, you're attaching too much importance to certain things. And you just have to kind of like let it all go. It's,
Mm-hmm.
just,
And it's like, I have two thoughts there a little bit. It's like when you attach importance,
mhm,
the reality transurfing talks a lot about like the pendulums and things.
mhm.
The pendulum kind of has to balance out, and energy is going to be taken out in another end. So if you're giving a lot of energy to like, I must have this spiritual practice, that's going to drain you somewhere else because you're attaching
Hmm.
so much. And I think that's why it's interesting with, can you hear me all right still?
Yeah, oh yeah, perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just got a phone call that popped up, so I
Mm,
didn't want to get
mm.
muted. And
No,
I
you're chilling.
think that's what's so interesting about meditating for me was
Mm,
I was literally like, I want to start meditating. So I did the timer every morning, and then I just stopped, and it was just fine because when I wanted to start and when I thought that I don't need to do this anymore, there wasn't a ton of value attached to either end of that. So I was fine going into it, fine going out, and nothing really changed for me. And then, oh, maybe I forgot the other thought that I had with that.
oh no,
Oh,
you're good.
no, I got it back. With the addictions, I saw a tweet the other day,
Yeah.
and I just thought I thought it was super interesting that said like all addictions are people just trying to get closer to God. And I was like,
Yeah,
that was something to sit with a little bit.
that's
And
really
it's like
good.
it doesn't sound like it on the surface, but it's like, yeah, like you were saying, like, oh, this isn't good enough. I need something. They're just trying to, and I was like, whew.
No, no,
Wow.
that's all right. I really, that's a great quote. I mean, I think if you think about like what God really is, I think it's just a representation of truth and beauty and just the pinnacle of the hierarchy of everything. I think truth and beauty and love, God, it's all the same kind of thing. And I think
Yeah.
we all kind of have this deep urge to want to commune with that. If you look at all the greatest art, throughout the ages, it's all people's attempt to get closer to that. And I think the closer people are to that when they create these things, the more beautiful the things are.
Yeah.
hmm I mean, even
It's
like, even I would consider myself a Christian, but like if you look at some of these like Islamic mosques and like Iran, like they are just some of like because they weren't, like in Islam, they're not. I don't know a lot about Islam, but they're not essentially able to portray the creator. Like they can't portray, Muhammad, so they create art that reminds them of that spirit, of
mm,
God. hmm
yeah. And it's like some of the most beautiful buildings there are. Some of those beautiful
Exactly.
things on earth. Yeah.
hmm
Because they want that connection with God. It
hmm
goes back to like, okay, what if everything in your life was art? Everything was you wanting to make that as beautiful as possible. That then everything that you do is connecting you with God if you are bringing beauty into it.
Exactly, man. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That is beautiful. All right.
hmm
Well, is there any last thoughts that you had? We've been on here for what? About an hour and a half. That's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
it is, man. I would say just don't attach so much if you're worried about something. Just what if you didn't worry about that thing and it was all going to be okay? And
Yeah.
what if you learn how to sell? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I literally saw a clip from like I don't know, somebody reposted it of Willie Nelson just being like, I learned that if I worried about things, I just worried about them and it didn't really change. So I was like, why the hell am I worrying about things?
Yeah. I mean,
It's
but
like
again,
it's
I think
so funny, but yeah.
it, it is, man. It's so simple at the end of the day. It's really so simple. You don't have to take
But
things so seriously, my friends.
yeah, exactly. And from then,
hmm
you being like, oh, well, I could probably learn to sell. The selling's not as serious, so it comes more easy to you. And you just
You
let those things flow through.
just flow, brother. That's it.
What a way to live. Yeah.
Uh,
It feels like that's what we're both doing. Is there
exactly, man.
anywhere that people can find you or that you want to send people to if they're
Yeah, if you
listening?
wanna, if you, I don't know, if you like me, you can follow me on Tommy's writing on Twitter, TOMMYS writing. Then I'm on Instagram too, where I post pictures and stuff. Tommy Christie photo. Then I'm on LinkedIn. It's Tommy Christie. Been posting a lot on LinkedIn. I used to think it was super cringy, and I still think it's cringy, but I've been doing it a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
hmm
Me too. Because I realize that that's where like I have some value for people. So if I think that
That's where businesses are.
yeah, if like maybe it feels cringy on there, but that's where I can help people. So who cares if it's cringe? I'm here to help. So yeah, I can
Exactly.
link those three, right? Yeah, Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram, LinkedIn. I'll link those in the podcast for people to find right at the top. But I want to say thank you very much for your time. I
Uh,
had a
uh,
wonderful conversation. This was awesome.
Thank you, Reese. Yeah, I just wanted to say you're a great host. You're a great dude, and I'm really inspired by just the work that you put in. Like you're creating a ton, and you've got a huge heart, and I know it's all going to work out if you keep going.
Yeah, I love
hmm
it. Thank you
hmm
very much. I appreciate that.
Appreciate you,
All
bro.
right.